Yeah, you guys, Hilaree, Jim, thank you for taking a second. My guess is ever since you skied the Lohtse face that you've probably done more than enough interviews. I bet you're tired of it. You're probably ready to talk about something else, right?
I will say I liked them better when they were in-person interviews. Those were fun. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Not on
What?
Zoom,
Yeah.
this works.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Where are you guys? California or Telluride or Tahoe? Telluride or Tahoe?
Telluride at the moment.
Oh yeah. What's give us the Telluride report? What are we looking at for ski season, I guess, since this is a pre-ski show?
Guys are clear here. There's no smoke. It seems like we got our first snow a couple days ago up high. Hilaree and I ran up the mountain today just to get a little exercise. And we're keeping our fingers crossed. They were running the chair that we like one of the best chairs on the mountain. They were doing some maintenance on it and had some guys up there tweaking it.
It was a chair that broke last winter, and so it basically shut down in like February. And didn't
Which chair was that?
Chair 9 just died.
Chair 9.
It just didn't do
well. It is that. Is it?
Today, so that's helpful. That gives me.
You mean the rickety old triple chair 9?
That one.
So
the one that kind of breaks all the time anyway.
It's back up and running.
It's back up and running. Maybe
has there been? For everybody listening who's not at Telluride, proficient, that access is the best runs, the plunge, bushwhacker, all the kind of sides. What is it? Spiral stairs, all the famous mogul runs.
Yeah, can't make them.
Yeah.
And it's all north facing, so it accesses all the really good, like snow that stays really good all the time.
Yeah. That's interesting. Telluride, it definitely is going to have their own rules, right? Because if you're there during the week and you're local, like you're not going on an app to make a reservation to ski, or are you? I don't know.
I don't know, because it's weird. We don't really have we're so different from Front Range resorts in that we don't have feeder cities for weekend highs, and we're so remote. We're so far away from just about everywhere that it's kind of it's just different, a little bit different in terms of how many people are here, when we're crowded, when we're not crowded. So,
what's the conversation around the backcountry out there? Because I know, obviously, I talked to Ray the other day. He's like, there's going to be thousands of people in the backcountry in Tahoe, and everyone's going to be, dying. What's the? I mean,
the backcountry is really high risk in general. Our snowpack here is considerably more complex than in Tahoe. But last year, when the mountain closed because of COVID, they sent out an email and said, "Hey, would you please not access the mountain for uphill travel until Tuesday?" And starting on Tuesday, it was just totally okay to skin up the mountain. And through March and April and a lot of good snowstorms, we were out there skiing with lots and lots of people.
You had to work a lot harder to access sort of the side country terrain.
It'll be interesting to see how that may influence this year's program and whether they'll allow some uphill traffic. And most people stayed inbounds and skied right back down the ski runs with a little bit of powder on top of the moguls from early March. Because the backcountry is just so touchy and complex.
Yeah, probably smart for people watching this interview. If you're headed to Telluride or headed to Colorado, it's got to be. It just slides a lot easier off the. Just to put it simply, the rocks don't grab. You don't get the moisture layering that we get out in Tahoe. And it doesn't settle as. Usually in Tahoe, it's safe after a few days. At least that's what I was told. And but out there, you don't get that kind of pack. Is that how you would describe it?
That's pretty accurate. I mean, sometimes we'll get an early snow and it's really cold here and it'll rot and the crystals of the snow will break down and turn into what they call facets, which you could sort of assume are ball bearings. And then you get all this new snow on top of it, and it's just really easy for the snow to slide on those ball bearings.
And we don't get as much snow as California. Like California, you get a bridging effect because you get so much snow that you don't worry about the facets against the ground. But here we don't get that much snow. We get really light, awesome snow, but it never bridges from the ground. So you're always, it's just scary. It can be pretty scary.
Speaking of California, what's what are the thoughts on Tahoe? And Jim, what are you thinking as far as because obviously we have more numbers. People are moving to Tahoe right now. Like the Bay Area is camping out up there. They probably plan on camping out up there all winter. I mean, how would you advise them to be safe?
I think that Tahoe's, crazy busy. It's like the 4th of July every day this summer. And I think this winter it'll be similar. And I think we'll see that for years to come. And the ski areas are going to have probably less skier visits because of the pandemic and the short term, and more people will get in the backcountry. And I would just advise people to find a guide and find the right training and get an avalanche class and make sure you have the right equipment. And then when you get to the trailhead, think about what you're doing as soon as you get there. Park properly. Don't just take up 3 spaces because there's a lot of other people that are coming behind you, and maybe wear a mask and carpool with your friends or something, and be safe. And it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna snow a bunch. It's gonna be beautiful sunny Tahoe days on the West Shore, and there's gonna be a lot of people there. So you just got to embrace that. And skiing's not a solo endeavor. You always have fun watching your friends ski down. So get over the fact that there's more people there and go out there and have fun.
Well, everyone was headed towards, at least thinking about getting in the backcountry, and you got to think, that's a healthy thing. And they're mostly because they're watching people like you and they're inspired by you. So I think, but it is daunting. Even for me who skis a lot, I don't even really know where to begin. So getting a guide, I think in Tahoe, the Alpenglow guys that you guys have experience with, Adrian, is one outfit. You just call them and get on like a trip, right? Or get on some day trip or something like that.
You can do that right in I don't know what to call it, in Olympic Valley, the name of the valley where
I was going to start talking about that, but we haven't gone to Blank Valley.
Yeah. Blank Valley.
You can get out there with those guys and get into some side country off the ski resort one day, and then you can bite off a bigger chunk and go into the real backcountry further away from there. And they're a great resource.
What about in Telluride, Hilaree? I know you used to guide there, actually. So
there's a couple different guiding outfits here. San Juan Adventures, San Juan Mountain Guides. I'd say, if you're in town, one of the best things to do, or if you want to call or email, is there's the local mountaineering shop is called Jagged Edge, and they can sort of direct you to whether you want to go. There's great ice climbing around here. There's a lot of ice climbing, so a lot of people come here for that. But if you want to go ice climbing, or you want to go skiing or a backcountry ski, that might be the best place to start.
That's a great resource anywhere. Go to the local mountaineering shop, and they're going to have a lot of information on where you can get classes or guides or equipment.
Yeah, avalanche classes, all the gear that you need, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. All right, good stuff. I figured I'd pick your brains on that because that's definitely a topic of conversation. Everybody wants to get out there. They just don't know how. And I think, like I said, they want to get out there because for the same reasons you guys want to get out there. You guys have, this is part of your life. It's what makes you happy and keeps you guys fresh. And so I want to visit a little bit of that, sort of the pinnacle of skiers lines, the dream line that you guys skied together, the Lohtse face. I want to play a couple clips from it. It's such an amazing video, obviously, that you guys put together. And maybe, you guys have seen this before. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously a lot of people, it's available on YouTube. It's free. It's sponsored by the North Face. It's an incredible video. It's only 27 minutes long. So I want to show the initial piece and just kind of run through stuff and I have questions about it and just kind of, you guys can walk me through it a little bit. But first I want to kind of show people the route. And this is Jimmy Chin sort of describing the route. Obviously it's, right next to Everest. It's the face that's right below it right there. Let's hear him talk about it.
To climb the Lohtse Couloir, you are essentially climbing the Everest route. You're literally the next mountain over. So you have to go through the icefall, you go through Camp 1, you go up the Western Coombe, you spend the same time at Camp 2, you go to Camp 3, and then from there, you basically go directly up the Lohtse face.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of show that because, in the next video, you talk about how you were climbing up this peak and the Sherpas took off. And not took off, I shouldn't say that. They had gone as far as they had deemed safe. And then I'm a little confused at that point because I've never done anything like that. But you decide that you guys are going to stay there. And was that kind of always the plan? Or did you think they would be with you further on?
It's a little twofold in there. So we had weather that we didn't expect. We just kind of had low, valley fog. And so...
and snow. Valley fog and a snowstorm.
And a snowstorm. I guess it was sort of a storm.
Heavy valley fog, maybe.
And the Sherpa were never planning on staying the night up there. That's
this is
the
really
last thing they want to do is spend the night up high. They think we're crazy.
It's really interesting for most people that the Sherpa actually don't want to sleep up at those high altitudes. They're like, no way are we sleeping up here. We're going to go back down to base camp. And we're sort of like, well, there's no way we're going to walk all the way back down to base camp. That would be really hard. We'd have to climb up here again. So they're just so fit. They just run down to base camp and hang out where they're comfortable.
And then they come back.
Base camp has, we have a base camp cook. They get fed, there's a lot more creature comforts at base camp. And we were planning on going up to Camp 2 and spending the night up there. And the route, they went to the point where basically they're called the breadlows, where these horizontal crevasses. It's kind of a techie section to get through to Camp 2. And they went to the end of that with us. So we knew where we were. And then they were like, well, there's no need for us to go any further. There's no line fixing, et cetera. So we're going to go down, and the weather's awful. So we're going to go down. And the four of us were like, well, we'll stay and kind of stick to our plan.
I think they've originally said the weather's too bad. We can't see what we're doing. We have to turn around and go down. And we were like, we're not going down.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. We'd have to walk all the way back up.
Yeah.
So we just pitched it
down. Then you guys start continuing on to hold on, where is that thing?
We stayed there for a while and tried to wait out this storm and let the visibility get better. And then we heard all these avalanches running down all around us, and we decided it was time to forge on.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to show. This is you guys cruising through here. Hold on.
I had this kind of sinking feeling that we were not on the right route to Camp 2, that we're actually a little too close to Lohtse, which is like a 7,000 foot vertical face. That avalanche is a lot.
I wanted to show that shot because you're essentially, you're kind of making your way through what you call the breadlows. Is that what you called it?
Yeah. Yep.
And these are like
crevasses in places and really big, massive crevasses.
And at this point, it's the two of you guys, and then I guess the Camp 2 camera guys.
Yeah, Nick and Dutch, who were the whole camera guys that moved with us the whole time.
And you're I understand that you kind of get off track here a little bit. They say in the video you come back. So are you navigating by like a compass, or like if you can't see, how do you even know which direction you're going up there?
So the weather was clearing up a little bit, and from that spot you have a clear shot of Everest, the summit of Everest and the summit of Lohtse. And so we got that shot and we just took our bearing on Everest, but then
we could see the glacier in front of us, and we knew kind of we needed to go up this ridge of the glacier.
And I'd been up there before, so once you get past there's this big 7,000 foot mountain off to our right. And once you get past that, it's actually like the safest part, the easiest part of the whole climb to Everest. But at this particular point in the video, we were still very much under this 7,000 meter peak, Lohtse. And we just started naturally kind of like veering to our right and got off route a bit. And when the sky cleared, all of a sudden I saw Everest, and it was like kind of behind us, and that was definitely not where it was supposed to be. And that meant we were walking straight towards this face that avalanches a lot. And we did a very abrupt about face, and then it actually cleared up and we were fine after that. But it was, yeah, I mean, I've seen that face rip bigger than you can imagine, and it's not a great place to be standing under.
So, Jim, when you guys go to the grocery store, she has a sixth sense where, you know, the milk was, if you turned her around, like if you spun her around like 4 times, she'd be able to get back, find that. Like you guys probably must have some incredible direction finding sense just naturally to kind of understand what's where.
I mean, I pride myself on that sixth sense and that sort of innate ability to understand which way's up and which way's the right way to go. And I've been in lots of situations similar to this where we made the right decision. In this case, when that mountain peaked out over to our left, and I said, "Hilaree, what's that?" And she said, "That's Mount Everest." I think my exact words were, "It's in the wrong place."
Yep,
We made a strong turn, and our intuition and our sense was clearly well off at that point. And thankfully, nothing happened in that period.
Yeah. And then at that point, I guess, was there a discussion to kind of hunker down? Like, what were the choices at that point if you did get, you know, in where you couldn't go forward, or you just camp and hope for the best, or was it too avalanche prone, or would you have to go back down? Or
we'd been hunkered down, all 4 of us inside of one small tent. We were in there playing cards, waiting it out, and the situation got stressful enough with snow coming down, avalanches coming down from all around us that we couldn't see because we were in this fog, that it made more sense to forge ahead and get to a place where we were relatively safe.
Which was not far from where we were sort of holed up.
It was a couple hours of walking.
A couple hours just to get to Camp 2 even. So.
Yeah, to get to somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you guys start working your way up. You get to Camp 2, you spend the night at Camp 2, and then you get up at 12 a.m. and start for the top, right?
No, there's a little, the movie kind of puts it together that way, but this was actually our first trip up to Camp 2. So we spent a couple nights up there, and then we actually went all the way back down. And then the second time we came up was when we went all the way to the top.
Yeah. So high altitude climbing, you go up, you spend a couple nights, you go to lower altitude, then you come back. We made our way to Camp 3. We spent a night there. We came back down to Camp 2, and then we got a weather report that said, you got to go on this particular day to the summit, because after that, it's going to get really windy. So
got it. That was the tight window.
To Camp 3 and woke up at midnight.
Well, yeah, you have to wake up. You can't wake up at midnight because that's bad juju, bad mojo. They're like, you can't wake up at midnight. It's got to be 11:45 or 12:15. So we got 12:15.
Okay. Up at 12:15.
Yeah.
And then this is this is like, you guys are kind of right in the heart of what looks like, I guess, did you climb up the chute? No, this looks like maybe just to the left of it or something like that.
We climbed up basically where we skied down in the couloir itself. Out on the Lohtse face, skied quite a ways away from where we climbed, but in the couloir it's really narrow, so we're
right
basically skiing right here.
Oh, okay. And that's the explanation where you guys you couldn't quite see in it, because when you guys walked past it, it was in the clouds or something. And then you got that first glimpse when you came around a rock and you could see that there was snow in it. I read that somewhere, I think, that you guys didn't really.
The couloir, so the Lohtse face is west facing, so you can go up that, but the couloir itself is actually has a north aspect to it, and you can't see it from anywhere but the ridge, the main route ridge of Everest. So we couldn't see it until we topped out on the Lohtse face and then came around this big like rock horn, and then we were in the couloir, and that was when we were like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I can't wait to you must have been psyched. I want to play this little piece here.
I think that's what the deeper meaning is for me. It's really going out there and suffering and getting into a really unique environment. It helps me get to a place where I'm able to fully live in the now.
And I just love that. And I feel like, we all, there's parts of our life, especially right now, where the only thing that keeps your mind off of things is just like working or doing something where you're forced to singularly focus on something. And at this point, you guys are in the couloir, and that's Mount Everest right there.
Yeah, which we made reference to often while we were climbing. We were like, "Oh my God, that's Mount Everest right there."
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Are you? I know that you often talk about that as climbing sort of has saved you, Jim. Obviously, personal tragedy that most people can't imagine, losing your family in a plane crash. When you were up on this face, was it effective? Were you able to just focus on one step at a time? Was it scary enough for you? Was it, or did you have some moments of bliss where you guys were camping out? Like, what's the journey when you're sort of getting close to the top? Is it, what are you thinking about?
I mean, I think it was really, really hard. Hilaree had the idea of climbing Lohtse without oxygen. And so we were up until the shot is in what you just played, where we put the oxygen on for the first time, which was at about 8,200 meters or so. So it was really, we were depleted and it was cold and it was really, really difficult climbing. But I had an experience on Everest, on the other side of Everest, earlier in 2018, where I had that really blissful moment where I was climbing by myself and I was ahead of my group, and I just was more connected to my kids than I really ever had been. And I was sort of in tears, but it was happy tears, and I was just in this surreal place, kind of on the edge of where humans can exist. And I felt like I could almost reach through to the other side and touch them. And I talked to Hilaree a lot about that experience, and sort of wondered if I would get there again, right about in this spot that we're looking at. And in reality, it was dealing with putting on oxygen and the frantic moments of where are we going to ski, and oh my gosh, look how much snow there is. And I'm in this sort of dream spot, and conditions exceeded our expectations. And I was pretty focused on keeping the cameraman alive and get to the summit. So I didn't have that same surreal moment, but I certainly have in many places in the mountains.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what was different about this particular climb, like when he was on Everest in the spring of 2018, when I was there, it was in the main climbing season, and all the ropes are fixed, and and there's people in more places, and you just kind of have time to, your mind can wander more. In this instance, we were the only people in the entire valley. We were breaking the trail. We were trying to help the Sherpa as much as we could in terms of the ropes and all of that. And so it really required a lot of that being present and focused and hustling, because the weather was about to change and all that kind of stuff. It was a little different.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. We were so focused on right where we are, that I wasn't really in that other sort of ethereal state of mind.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of, I didn't think about it that way, but I think when you're immersed in the video, you're not thinking about the fact that you guys are also managing other people, and like the whole, in the end, even though you got people helping you and setting it up, in the end, this is like, you guys own this thing. Yeah. And the buck stops with you guys. So you're like managing a small expedition and so, yeah, there's not a whole lot of time to be out of the moment, I guess, of just trying to figure out the oxygen thing. I did read, I remember that Hilaree, you were somewhat opposed to the oxygen in the beginning. Jim was like, I don't care. I just care about the skiing. We got to get there in the window. Is that kind of a climber's thing? Like, you wanted to sort of, show that you could, be super tough. I mean, tough person.
Yeah, I like to be tough, and that's definitely a way of being tougher, So that was part of it. I wanted to see, none of until K2 earlier that summer, like a month before we were on Lohtse, none of the top 5 peaks had been skied without oxygen. And to me, it's more like an experiment, like how my body reacts. And I just I don't know, I just like the suffering. But when we got off the Lohtse face and turned into that couloir, it was that different aspect, and it got super deep and punchy and was really hard to break trail. And Jim was just like, he didn't even ask. He was like, I'm putting oxygen on. I want to ski this thing. I don't want to I don't care about just summiting and walking down.
I think we had a discussion about it, and we stopped, and it was just the two of us, and we talked about time, and I was paying really close attention to our timing. And we were like, well, it's going to take 5 hours from here to get to the summit. We had about 1,200 feet, 1,000 feet to go. So if you imagine, it's going to take you 5 hours to go up 1,000 feet. And that's a little bit above the top of exhibition. It's,
I guess I never thought of that.
Really hard at that altitude. And with the oxygen, I think my guess was it would take us two hours or a little over 2 hours. So we ultimately kind of had to make that decision in order to be able to ski down in the window where we wanted to be on the Lohtse face at a certain time. We'd set up all the times to ski it in what we thought was the safest time of the day.
And part of that involved having the bottom of the Lohtse face still be in the sun, because there's actually enough solar energy to affect the hardness of the ice, if you will, because the bottom of the Lohtse face is pretty much ice. So we just had to maximize the sun effect and kind of get it before it went into the dark.
Yeah. Jesus. It's a lot of stuff. So then
it's really interesting. Touched on the point of it's not just us. I think people perceive this as like, wow, you did this crazy thing, and that must have been really risky. The risk that we were managing there was not just our own personal risk. It was the risk of the whole expedition and everybody that was involved in helping us. And I was super concerned about that part of it until everyone and every piece of trash was completely off the mountain and we were completely out of harm's way. It wasn't until then that I was able to sort of think, oh, okay, we did it. That was a success.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I want to talk about that after you guys got off the peak, because I think you still got to get down, you still got to deal, but let's like at least bask in the glory a little bit longer of getting up to the top here. These are I think are your first turns after you first turns into the couloir, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Not all who wander lost, it's a chance to face your fear.
And here we were like doing these full consequential hop turns and side slipping and then going from like breakable crust to sugar snow and back and forth.
Completely and totally exasperated, like breathing as hard as you ever have.
Oh man, it's the skiing is incredible, and like you said, have been quoted, Jim. You said, "There's Mount Everest."
It was pretty amazing being in that spot, skiing this line that we talked about and dreamed about for a really, really long time. And then I wouldn't say the conditions were good. There were certainly turns that were really good. It was one of those things where with a heavy pack on, you initiate a turn and your tips go through some good snow and then they dive under some breakable crust and then you get thrown forward and then you got to adjust your feet under you. And it was sort of every turn you were kind of feeling the snow with your tips at 27,500 feet. That was an experience, but it was incredible. There was, we're skiing this dream line and staring across the valley at Mount Everest.
I have two questions there. Go ahead, Hilaree. Go ahead.
Well, I had actually climbed Lohtse before in 2012, and everything that you see in this picture was 100% rock. And so to come back in a different season in the fall versus the spring, I had 100%. My mindset was like, we're not going to be able to ski this whole thing. We're going to have to rappel off the top because when it was rock, it was like a 20-foot cliff, 30-foot cliff. And then the choke was only maybe 40 centimeters wide. Like I wasn't even walking on the ground. I was climbing on the two sides. They were so close together. So in my mind, I was, there was no way we would be able to ski this continuously. For sure, there were two rappels. And the reality was that it was filled in such a way, even if it wasn't like the best skiing, it was totally skiable, the entire thing. And so I just kept like pinching myself. I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I couldn't believe that it was all packed and we never had to take our skis off.
It's incredible.
Or anything.
So you must have been like almost a little bit stressed out going up, thinking we're going to have to do all this rappel. I have a couple questions about that. How long did you guys wait at the top before you strapped in and went down? I mean, I imagine you were like, let's get the hell out of here. And then B, how did you figure out which skis to use? Because I know I've seen a lot of video of you guys skied a very similar looking, obviously narrow, not as consequential couloir and Telluride a bunch that seems to have been training for this for this shoot. Now that I look back on it, how did you sort of determine which skis you were going to bring, and did you test them and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, well, we got to the summit at 1:45 in the afternoon, and I think I dropped in at 2:22.
Okay.
So that was, we got to the summit, we started celebrating with the Sherpa, the cameraman got up there, we were taking photos. It was this surreal moment. The wind was starting to pick up, and I looked over at Hilaree, and she's got one of her skis on, and she's getting ready. You got to transition and put them into ski mode and start buckling. And she's just right into the business. Like, we got to go. So,
I mean, maybe you feel like this, Jonny, but when you're standing at the top of a really steep run and you don't have skis on, it's super scary. Once you put your skis on, you're like, okay, all right, I got this. So I was like, I want to get my skis on.
That's a great point. It's the worst.
So we weren't there very long, but it was a pretty amazing 40-ish minutes. And then skiing down, we skied on these skis because we've skied on lots of different stuff. They're They're Blizzard 0 Gs, and they're lightweight, but they're not crazy lightweight, and they're 95 millimeters underfoot. So we're used to skiing on pretty fat skis and like that, and wanted to have enough waist width to float through all these various conditions we were going to find. And we've skied these same skis on, locally, but mostly these are kind of our expedition ski. We're usually on a wider ski at home. We skied these in Denali. We skied them in India on a peak called Papsura, which is probably the gnarliest, scariest descent we ever did. And they were just pretty perfect they were the right tools.
I like
and
them.
what length?
They have a flat tail, and they have a stiff tail. So sometimes a heavy pack can pull you in the back seat, and that stiff tail, for me at least, it holds me up. It keeps me forward without launching me forward. And that flat traditional tail just does so well on ice. And we had there's no ice here, but the whole rest of it was pretty icy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're 178s, which are,
the 172s.
And she's on 172s, but maybe that's not so bad for her, but they're really short for me. But that's just a game of how much ski do you want to carry. And this couloir is super narrow at the choke. So 178 was about as much as I thought could possibly fit through there. And get back to the photos you've seen in Telluride. I've done a lot of training here with Hilaree where she's like, oh, we're going to go ski that thing. It's called the hairy banana. And when we get in there, I'm like, Hilaree, there's not enough snow in here to fit through this choke and this couloir. She's like, oh, it's fine. You just have to do a little butt slide. So you sit down on your butt and you drop your tips down slope, and you sort of slide through 100 centimeter wide section and then stand up real fast above, hundreds of feet of exposure. Don't fall or you're not going to make it. She's just kind of casual.
Well,
Telluride butt slide.
So that's Hilaree's influence. I got it. I see. She does well, and that's the next clip I wanted to show. Go ahead, Hilaree.
Well, we've just got it's different skiing, Telluride and Squaw. Like, we got different styles.
Yeah, that's right. We don't, of course, we don't really have those shoots quite like you guys have there. And that brings me to this next part, which is totally what I was wondering, is how you guys skied this. This is the couloir. This is the choke you're talking about, I believe. And I mean, it makes me feel better that Jim was on 178, because I'm like, why did you do that? How could you take that risk in that moment? Were you roped when you skied this? I guess we should just watch it first. And then we'll talk about it.
If you can link 3 jump turns at 8,000 meters, I mean, you're badass.
I mean, I didn't even see where you could turn in there. So, but you skied, it made it. But you said, Jim, you thought about standing up and just kind of butt sliding down. But then you tell us about it.
We got to that. I mean, first of all, there's been years and anticipating what this choke's going to be like, and talking to people like Hilaree and Adrian and other friends that had climbed Lohtse. Everyone's like, there's no way you're going to be able to ski that. You're going to have to, it's too narrow. But when we were there, the snow had filled it in, and not only had it filled it in, it blew in on a slope in a weird angle. So we were able to drop our tips down slope and our tails up slope and get through an even narrower section. And when we skied down to that choke, I turned around to Hilaree and I yelled at her, and she said, "What?" And I yelled again. There's no rope, because we had been fixing rope all the way up, but our Sherpa had run out of rope. So after we climbed through that section, one of the Sherpa was ahead and one of them was behind. He took the rope out of that section to use up higher on the mountain. So that the crux of the whole route, we had no rope. So not only did I want to use a rope, I didn't have an option to use the rope, which is pretty awesome.
And in hindsight, you really didn't want a rope in there because it would have you would have been on top of it the whole time. It would have been sketchy.
Yeah, I'd kept talking to the Sherpa about making sure that they didn't set the rope in the middle of the couloir here because we wouldn't be able to ski on top of the rope. But I made each turn and I kind of looked down at what you're looking at, and if you screw that turn up, you get about 6,500 feet till you stop. So you don't want to mess up, but you're never going to be back. I'm never going to go back there and make another turn in that spot. So each one was pretty memorable.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's incredible that you made turns through there, and
Hilaree came around those rocks at the bottom, and we did what you do when you click poles together. It's kind of like a high five in the backcountry, and you below there it starts to open up, and it was a major hurdle. We didn't talk about it a lot, but I think both of us had a huge weight off our shoulders when we went around under those rocks. We were in a really safe spot. Waited for the
sun. Looks like the sun was on.
Yeah, we got back into the sun. That was nice.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And was there, at this point, I guess you got the GoPro on, and you got a couple cameramen that are coming through here too. Are you guys stopping to set up some shots, or is it just kind of like, we got to go? Is there some pause for production, or what's that like in this scenario?
We did stop, not quite as much in the actual choke. I think we were still both really like tight stress to get through this. But as soon as we got through it and we did our like pole high five, and we waited for Nick and Dutch and the two Sherpa to kind of descend down to us, we did set up for shots at that point. I think Tashi was there, and they'd never seen anybody ski before. So, like blown away. That part was pretty cool.
They were pretty freaked out on the summit when we first made the first couple turns up. I think they were.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
This is crazy, but
they were laughing.
Those guys, Ela and Tashi, could run down this slope faster than we could ski it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We were waiting for Nick and Dutch, who they were helping kind of manage to get down to us. But it's a good time to say we're not shredding down the Lohtse Couloir at 28,000 feet. We're making 3 or 4 turns and stopping for like 5 minutes to get our breath.
Sure.
It'd be like you running around the track as fast as you possibly can, and that high respiratory rate you have right when you stop, except you don't really recover, and it takes a really long time. So then we'd make 5 more turns and stop for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I'm trying to get in the moment, but you described it precisely. I mean, you're literally like at max heart rate and trying to make turns and calm yourself down. I mean, I don't know. So there's the line, right? The red line. That's and the yellow line is before you so you climb up next to it, and then you got into the actual couloir up there, and then when it says, I think it was a 7,000 foot ski, that's from the top all the way down to the bottom of that red line, or further down.
Further down. So that's from the very top all the way down to Camp 2, which is even below the Bergschrund at the bottom of the Lohtse face. So you're probably looking at about, I want to say 3,500 feet, 4,000 feet of it maybe.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I know you guys gave a lot of, love to the Sherpa, and there's a great shot of all you guys, everyone home safe and successful event that might never be done again. I mean, it from what I can gather through the way you've described it and the way Jeremy has described it, and people, it's just, you got to have skill and some luck and timing and the whole package. And then, you know, you guys have this unique background, right, where you were champion skiers and big mountain skiers and mountaineers and adventurers, and then, you know, have the will and desire. And I mean, it's just a pretty cool feat.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention, I grew up with Jonny Moseley, and I had somebody to look at and be like, oh my God, how did he do that?
Well, your mogul skiing background certainly came into, for those listening at home, Jim, big mountain extreme extraordinaire, was a freestyle bump skier on the freestyle ski team at Squaw Valley with me. So I do take some credit, and there's some bump skier in that line. So
yeah,
maybe that's what it was to get through the chute. It was just like, right.
That's right.
It was like I remember when Jonny was getting ready to go to the Olympics the first time, and I was a coach at Squaw Valley, and he would come down and he would say, I'm going to land down there. And it was pretty much out of sight. And he would go so big. And then I would just sort of look at it and just be baffled at how he pulled it off. And yeah, I mean, people like that in my life helped me understand that you can do something that somebody else hasn't done. And there's no reason to stay upright when you could do the dinner roll. You might as well break the barriers a little bit and go for it.
Well, you guys are doing the same for a whole group of people as well. And that's it's been really amazing to watch both of your careers separately, then watch them to come together and be additive and great. And I love hanging out with you guys. Hopefully we could do it again in person. Although I will say the last time I hung out with them, they gave me a ride, and they were flying their own plane from Truckee to Telluride, and it was like an aerial acrobatic show in the mountains, in San Juan Mountains on the way down. Scared the crap out of me, but really fun. And I secretly, I hope you guys can show me a line, introduce me a little bit more to the backcountry. You know, obviously I've done heli skiing and all this BS stuff, but once I get my, maybe this might be the year I get to climb. God knows I don't think I'm going to be working very much. So what?
We'll take you to the hairy banana this winter.
Oh yeah. I do want to ski that one of these days. That does look hairy though.
Yeah, it's a little hairy.
Yeah. All right. I love you guys. Thank you for taking the time for the Peter Glenn Snowtober Fest. And I'll catch you in Telluride or Tahoe. Have a great rest of the summer. Really appreciate it.
Good to see you.
All right. You too.